What's up, my peeps? It is now time for the Night of Champions results / highlights and review video. So I'll be going over the entire results of the show, give you guys some of the highlights in my opinion, and letting you know my thoughts and my review on the show. So we get an interview with Sheamus from Eden, and basically he announces that whoever wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match tonight, whether it's Sting or whether it's Seth Rollins, he's gonna go ahead and cash in, and he says that tonight history will be made, and that tonight also, history will become his story. And then we also get an interview with Eden, or actually with Kevin Owens by Eden. And she talks to him about the IC title match, and he goes ahead and says that the prize tonight is the IC title, and he's a prize fighter. And that championship means more money and a better life for his family, so he needs it. And then he goes ahead and leaves. And then we get the kickoff match, the Cosmic Wasteland versus Neville and the Lucha Dragons. Just to go over some of the big spots in the match, you had Neville hitting a springboard moonsault on the outside. At the same time, the Lucha Dragons went ahead and jumped over the top rope with flipping sentons on the Ascension. That was pretty cool. And then you also had Kalisto counter Viktor's attempt at a second rope powerbomb. I thought he was actually going to hit it until Kalisto countered it at the last second into a Hurricane Rana. We also get Neville hitting his imploding 450 splash on Stardust in the match, but the pin got broken. And then towards the end, Stardust went for the disaster kick. Neville dodges, he super kicks Stardust, goes for the red arrow, but Viktor stops him, and then Stardust grabs Viktor and pushes him onto Neville, causing him to fall off the top. And then he follows it up with the Queen's crossbow. The Queen's crossbow, so I guess that's the new name for his finisher. It's basically the Crossroads, but with a new name. And he covers him, and the Cosmic Wasteland win the match. After that, we get the New Day answering Twitter questions in the best social media lounge segment yet. During the whole time, Big E was like making fun. The entire New Day was making fun of those asking the questions. And that was pretty much it for the kickoff. Of course, they promoted the matches, hyped up the matches and all that. But that's, the interviews and the important parts. And then we move on to the actual show. And they start off the main show with the Intercontinental Championship match. So Ryback versus Kevin Owens. And I'll just go over some of the highlights or some of the big points in the match. First off, right off the bat, Ryback was like overpowering Kevin Owens, pushing him off. And then he military pressed him outside the ring, or to the outside of the ring from the inside of the ring. But then, as he tried to get Owens back in the ring, Owens went ahead and hit Ryback's arm on the top rope, and then he put Ryback's arm behind his back in like a hammerlock position, and he shoved him back first, or actually shoulder first, into the steel post. And from then on, he continued working on Ryback's arm and shoulder the entire match, his left shoulder and left arm. And, at some point, you have Ryback saying, "Referee, my elbow," and then Kevin Owens just tells him, "Shut up." I don't know, to me, Kevin Owens is like the funniest guy when it comes to just, how people talk trash in the ring? Kevin Owens, whenever he does it, it just makes me laugh for some reason. So, at some point, while he's in a submission hold, so like Kevin Owens is putting Ryback's arm in a submission hold, you see Ryback putting his hand over his mouth, and you can see him trying to, whisper something to Kevin Owens, tell him something. But anyways, Ryback turns things around at some point with a spine buster, and then he goes for the meat hook clothesline, but Kevin Owens stops him with a super kick, covers him, and Ryback kicks out. And then Owens goes for the pop-up powerbomb on Ryback, but Ryback holds onto the ropes, and then he bounces off the other side, the other ropes, and finally hits the meat hook clothesline. He then tries for the shell shock, but he just can't do it because of his arm. And then Owens goes ahead and throws Ryback shoulder first into the steel post. He puts him in another submission hold, puts Ryback's arm in another submission hold. And then Ryback eventually gets out of it. He overpowers Kevin Owens. And then Ryback eventually gets Owens once again for the shell shock. He's got him up this time, and it looks like he's about to hit it, but Owens goes ahead and rakes him into the eyes, and the referee didn't see it because the referee was looking from behind Ryback. So he rakes him in the eyes, rolls him up, 1, 2, 3, Kevin Owens wins the match and is the new IC champion. The crowd was very pro-Owens. Then anyways, after that, we get a big announcement. They announced Brock Lesnar's Go to Hell tour. And the big announcement is that at Hell in a Cell, it is going to be a rematch. Brock versus Taker inside Hell in a Cell. Looking forward to that. I'm hoping Brock wins. But anyways, afterwards we get Summer Rae versus Rousseff. They try and get an interview out of Rousseff beforehand, but Rousseff just doesn't want to talk. And also, Summer Rae's wearing Dolph Ziggler's earrings that he gave her. Anyways, Dolph Ziggler was actually wearing the tights this time instead of the shorts. But anyways, when it comes to the actual match, you had Dolph Ziggler actually body slam Rousseff during the match, which I didn't see coming. But anyways, you had Rousseff actually countered Ziggler's Faymacer attempt into an attempt at a powerbomb, or it looked initially like it was going to be a powerbomb, and it took a while to like get the position right. But anyways, he counters it into like a powerbomb into a facebuster onto the second turnbuckle, but Dolph doesn't land on the second turnbuckle, so he doesn't sell it, and he goes ahead and hits Rousseff with the Faymacer. He goes for the cover, Rousseff kicks out. And then Dolph tries to go to the top, but Rousseff takes him off, and then he hits him with a kick to the head. Dolph kicks out of that too. And then Rousseff goes for the super kick, but Dolph dodges it, and he puts Rousseff in the sleeper. And then Ziggler goes ahead and hits Rousseff with the jumping DDT, and Rousseff lands like straight up, like in a straight position. You know how Rob Van Dam sells his DDTs, like with the spike DDT position? He did that, but you could tell like his head, wasn't close to the mat. And at some point, Dolph goes ahead and tries for the zigzag, but Rousseff hangs onto the ropes, and then he eventually hits the super kick on Ziggler. Goes for the cover, and he thinks he wins, but it's actually a 2 count, so the referee eventually breaks it to Rousseff, because Rousseff spent a bunch of time celebrating thinking he won when he didn't. And then once he realizes it, he tries for the accolade, but Ziggler slips out of it, and he hits him with his super kick. And then eventually Summer Rae gets on the apron, raging at the referee and all of that, and Rousseff goes ahead and pushes Dolph onto the ropes, causing Summer Rae to flip over into the ring, and then the referee goes ahead and kicks Summer out, tells her to leave, and she gets on the apron, and before she leaves, she's still raging. She goes ahead, grabs one of her shoes and throws it like on the ramp, and then she grabs the other one and without looking throws it, and it hits Rousseff right in the head, and then Ziggler follows it up with the zigzag, covers Rousseff, referee counts 1, 2, 3, and Ziggler gets the win. After the match, Rousseff just leaves without Summer, and Ziggler goes ahead, kisses Summer's hand, and he also leaves without Summer. Following that, we get the New Day versus the Dudley Boys, and before the match, the New Day have to cut a promo. They talk about their petition, their Save the Tables petition, about, a bunch of famous people that signed the petition, like Bill the Science Guy, and Big E says also the president. But the way he says it is, he says it how Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar. He's like, it sounds like he's saying Brock, but he's actually saying Barack. He says Barack Obama. But yeah, you get the point. And then Dudley Boys come out, and we have the match. So when it comes to the big moments of the match, you had Big E go ahead and hit his splash, his running splash on the apron on Bubba Ray. Love that move. I actually thought he did it for the first time on the last pay-per-view at SummerSlam, but then somebody pointed out to me that he's done it before, so I don't know how I didn't notice that before. But anyways, cool move. And then towards the end, Xavier Woods tried to get involved. He got on the apron, but Devon took him off the apron, and then they hit a back suplex neckbreaker, basically a reverse 3D on Big E. And then they followed that up with the actual 3D on Kofi. They go for the cover, and I actually thought they might have it there. But then we see Xavier Woods getting in the ring and breaking the pin, causing the disqualification. So Dudley's win, but via disqualification, so still the champs, the New Day. And afterwards, they go ahead and celebrate, and they keep on kicking the Dudley Boys. Big E goes ahead and just kicks each one of them in the gut, while their music's still playing and they're celebrating, and Kofi also does so. And then they decide to mock the Dudley Boys, and they do the 1, 2, 3, get the table. So they're all of a sudden they're no longer first save the tables, or at least on this specific occasion. And then Xavier Woods goes ahead and grabs the table. They put it in the ring. And then Kofi and Big E both start beating up Bubba and Devon, while Xavier Woods is like taunting in the crowd and he's got his back turned. And then Devon and Bubba turn it around on Big E and Kofi, and Xavier Woods still doesn't see it because he's looking at the crowd. And so they take out both Big E and Kofi, and then Xavier Woods is the only one in the ring, so they get behind him and they hit the 3D on Xavier Woods through the table. And then their music hits, and that's it. So New Day are still the tag team champions, but Dudley Boys win via disqualification, so there's definitely going to be a rematch at Hell in a Cell. And after that, we get a video package for the Nikki Bella versus Charlotte match, and then we get the actual match. So anyways, throughout the match, Nikki Bella was actually the one to work the legs. You'd think that Charlotte would be the one focusing on the legs, since, you know, she's got the figure 4 in her moveset, her father's Ric Flair. But actually it was Nikki Bella. She suplexed Charlotte a couple times into the ropes where she was really close to the ropes, so that way when Charlotte, whenever she would land like leg first onto the ropes, and then she would put on submission holds and all of that on Charlotte's legs. Eventually she goes ahead and tries to hit Charlotte with the forearm smash that she does, but from the second rope. She goes for it, but Charlotte catches her in midair with a spear, and then Charlotte puts her in the figure 4, and then she bridges the figure 4, and Nikki Bella actually taps out. So no interference, no DQ, Charlotte wins via tap out and is the new Divas champion. She celebrates with Becky Page and Ric Flair, and that's about it. Eden then interviews Kevin Owens, the new IC champ. He basically talks about Ryback and his self-help books. He says that he didn't win the championship because of some stupid self-help book. He won the championship because of how great he is. And then we see Charlotte and Ric Flair and, you know, Becky and Paige planning on celebrating backstage. And then we get the Wyatt family versus Reigns, Ambrose, and their mystery partner. The funny thing is, while they're in the ring and waiting for their partner, this dude from the crowd just gets in the ring in like Shield gear. He runs into the ring, but quickly gets taken off the ring or out of the ring by security, which was pretty funny. And yeah, there's been a lot of people lately just getting in the ring, getting involved in the Shield's entrances, matches, and all that. But anyways, he gets taken out by security. We see it, you know, with the camera. And then Bray Wyatt goes ahead and makes fun of Reigns and Ambrose, and he's like, "Is that your guy?" But anyways, Jericho's music hits, and it's Chris Jericho as their mystery partner. We get Reigns hitting Luke Harper with a sit-down powerbomb for a 2 count. And it wasn't like a sit-down powerbomb from the corner or anything like that. It was Luke Harper charging Reigns and Reigns picking him up in the powerbomb position and hitting it. And then we also get Reigns trying to go for a suicide dive, or not suicide dive, but the dive to the outside that he usually does. But once he bounces off the ropes, Strowman grabs him by the hair, and then Luke gets back in the ring and hits Reigns with a super kick. A lot of super kicks in these matches. Afterwards, we get Jericho. Once he gets tagged in, he goes ahead and puts Bray Wyatt in the walls of Jericho, but Luke Harper stops it with a clothesline to the back, and eventually Jericho goes ahead and tags in Ambrose. Ambrose and Wyatt, they have a really nice exchange, like they keep countering each other's moves. And you had Ambrose going for dirty deeds, Bray countered it, Bray tried to go for Sister Abigail. Eventually, Ambrose goes for the rebound clothesline, and he hits it, but at the same time, Bray also hits him with a clothesline, so they take each other out at the same time. And then they both tag somebody in. Ambrose tags in Reigns, and Wyatt tags in Braun. And then Reigns hits a Superman punch on Strowman, but Strowman is still up, so he hits him with a second one, and that second one finally takes him down. And then Ambrose goes ahead and jumps from the top onto Braun Strowman, and then he hits a suicide dive on Harper, and then Reigns hits a spear on Braun, but once he hits the spear, he goes ahead and like goes in the corner, and he's like, I guess taunting or like preparing for something. I'm like, okay, why don't you go ahead and, you know, pin Strowman? He just hit the spear, that took him down. He wasn't getting right back up like Brock. I mean, he was moving a little bit, but whatever. So he goes in the corner, and he goes in his corner, and he could tell that Jericho's about to tag himself in, and he does just that, tags himself in, and Reigns is like confused. And then, in the meanwhile, Bray takes Reigns and he takes him out on the outside. Jericho, he hits a lion salt on Braun. Braun kicks out, and he kicks out by, throwing Jericho off of him. And then Jericho goes for the code breaker, and Braun just catches him and holds on to him, and he turns it around into his lift cutter finisher. It's that finisher that starts off like a backbreaker position on top of his shoulder, and then he turns it around into a cutter. The one we've seen on Raw, he hits that, and then he follows it up with the sleeper hold that he's been doing to, his opponents and all that recently. And Jericho just passes out. So, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper win the match. Wyatt family is victorious because of Jericho, tagging himself in all of that. And then once the Wyatt family leaves, we see Jericho along with Ambrose and Reigns in the ring. And Reigns and Ambrose are like, it's okay, But Jericho, he just gets up and he walks off, and while he walks off, he just bumps into Ambrose and doesn't look back or anything and just leaves. And that's it. After that, we see Seth Rollins with the Authority backstage, and they're getting him hyped up, and he's like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And then he leaves, and once he leaves, we see Sheamus come up to the Authority, and he's like, yeah, he's ready, and I am too. And then he leaves. And then we get the video package, and then Seth Rollins versus John Cena. The two championship matches were back-to-back. So anyways, let's get down to what happened in the US title match. I'll go over some of the highlights, some of the big moments, as I usually do. So, we got Seth Rollins putting Cena upside down, just like at SummerSlam, and hitting the jumping foot stomp on John Cena while he's upside down. We also had John Cena going for his comeback, the shoulder tackles, and then he goes for the back suplex, but Seth Rollins went ahead and countered it into the neck breaker, but eventually Cena got the back suplex, and he went for the 5-knuckle shuffle, but it got countered by Seth Rollins. Cena, at some point, hit that sunset flip that he does, kind of like a Canadian Destroyer, but you don't land on your head, it's not a pile driver, but Rollins kicked out. And Cena tried to go for an attitude adjustment from the top or from the second rope, but Rollins countered once again, just like at SummerSlam, with the powerbomb attempt. He tried to hit the powerbomb, but at the very last second, John Cena reversed it into a Hurricane Rana, sending Seth Rollins face first into the turnbuckle. And then Cena went ahead and went for the attitude adjustment. Rollins landed on his feet, and then he kicked Cena in the gut and followed it up with a super kick. I'm telling you, there were so many super kicks at Night of Champions. And we also had Seth Rollins hitting a flipping swanton on the outside on John Cena. That was pretty cool. And we also had Seth Rollins going for the frog splash afterwards inside the ring, and John Cena rolled out the way. John Cena then hit a tornado DDT. We had Rollins hit the superplex from the top into the fucking arrow right after for a 2 count. John Cena locked in the STF on Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins got to the ropes. And then we had Seth Rollins. This was pretty cool. We had Seth Rollins roll up John Cena shortly after the STF, and instead of going for a roll-up pin, he went ahead and picked John Cena up from the roll-up position into the powerbomb position, and he hit the turnbuckle powerbomb on Cena. That was pretty damn cool. And we also had Rollins catching Cena just like he did at SummerSlam into the attitude adjustment position, and then he went for it, but John Cena got out of it, and John Cena hit him with a reverse suplex. And then he followed up that reverse suplex with the top rope Faymacer, or leg drop, if you want to call it that, and then hit the attitude adjustment right afterwards for the win. There was no springboard stunner in this match, which makes me think that maybe he's taking that move out of his move list or his move set. I mean, let's be real here. Whenever John Cena's went for the springboard stunner, it's never looked the greatest. It always looks like he barely connects, or it doesn't look good. But anyways, whatever. Cena goes ahead, hits the attitude adjustment, wins the match, and is the new United States Champion. After the match, Seth Rollins tries to just leave. He doesn't want to, have the second match, grabs the championship, his championship, the WWE Championship, while Cena, obviously has the US title. Cena sees that, so he stops Rollins, and he tells him that, hey, you've got one more match, so you're going to stay here. Rollins pushes him, so John Cena grabs him and hits him with an attitude adjustment on the floor. Then he puts him back in the ring and he leaves. Sting makes his entrance. Sting gets in the ring and right away he grabs his coat and he throws it on Seth Rollins. Once the bell rings, he starts it off with a Stinger Splash right off the bat. And eventually, they make it to the outside of the ring. Once they're on the outside, we actually get Seth Rollins pushing Sting on the announce table, or through the announce table. They were on one announce table. It looked like Sting maybe was going to go for like a Scorpion Death Drop or something through the table. But instead, Seth Rollins pushed him from the announce table to the Spanish announce table, and Sting went through it. And while going through it, it looked like Sting maybe bumped his head on one of the monitors. And then we saw Seth Rollins trying to leave. Once again, he grabs the title and he goes to leave, and Sting is slowly getting back up, but then Seth Rollins changes his mind and he decides to, go back and attack Sting some more. So he goes ahead and he actually body slams Sting on the remaining parts of the announce table, and then he puts him back, in the ring. Eventually he hits him with a turnbuckle powerbomb for a 2 count, and then at some point Rollins goes ahead and tries for a springboard knee on Sting, but Sting pushes him off the top rope, and Seth Rollins just lands on the outside on the barricade. But shortly after, he gets back in the ring. And once they're in the ring, we get Sting hitting him with a Stinger Splash and a clothesline, sending him to the outside. And then Sting climbs up the top turnbuckle and he jumps from inside of the ring to the outside onto Seth. And then back in the ring, Sting hits Rollins with a Scorpion Death Drop, and then he covers him. And I actually thought he had him here, but Seth Rollins put his foot on the ropes. I initially, because I didn't see Seth Rollins kick out, I was like, oh, did he just get the win? But then I, realized foot was on the ropes. And then Rollins went ahead and hit another turnbuckle powerbomb on Sting. Now, after this powerbomb, Sting seemed really out of it. Like, he was just standing there, and Seth Rollins wasn't attacking him. Like, he wasn't touching him. And then they even went for, like, another spot where Sting was running towards Rollins, and he just fell. And so then we had the referee checking on Sting, and it really looked like Sting was legit injured, and I'm pretty sure he is. And then we get one of the medics too checking on Sting, and in the meanwhile, Seth Rollins just not attacking Sting. He's just there. He's taunting, and it looks like something went wrong there. From that turnbuckle powerbomb. Eventually, Sting gets up to his feet, and he continues on the match, but from then on, you could tell the match isn't going to go on for too much longer, and you could tell that, something's up. And so anyways, Sting eventually gets the Scorpion Deathlock on, but even when he does that, like, he isn't putting any pressure really on Seth Rollins. He isn't leaning back or anything. So it wasn't that great of a Scorpion, Deathlock. But then again, like I said, seems like he got injured on that turnbuckle powerbomb. So Seth Rollins gets to the ropes, and then Rollins hits an enziguri on Sting, and Sting gets put in the pedigree, but he counters it with another deathlock, or an attempt at a deathlock, but before he can, lock it in, Rollins counters it into a nice, deathlock counter roll-up thing, and he gets the 3 count and the win, so Seth Rollins retains his WWE Championship. Now, at this point, I'm just waiting for Sheamus, because Sheamus said that he was ready and he was going to cash in that briefcase tonight no matter who won. So I'm just waiting. Seth Rollins seems like he forgot about it, kayfabe-wise. He's all happy about retaining the title. And then Sheamus' music hits. He comes out running with the briefcase. Right when he gets in the ring, Seth Rollins tries to hit him with the championship, but Sheamus ducks, bounces off the ropes, hits him with a bro kick, and then he gives the briefcase to the ref, and he shouts, "Come on, cash it in," and cash it in. And then pyros go off, and Kane's music hits. Kane comes out with the mask and, the attire that he had before going to corporate Kane, so it's not a new mask or anything like that. And he gets in the ring. Sheamus rolls out the ring. He grabs Seth Rollins by the throat, chokeslams him, and then Sheamus gets back in the ring, and he's happy at this point. He's like, "Come on, one more, give him one more." And then Kane grabs Sheamus by the throat, and he chokeslams him as well. Kane then does the whole, cutthroat motion or taunt that he does before the tombstone, and he hits the tombstone piledriver on Seth Rollins. His music hits, and lights go red, and that's it. So Kane returns, goes after Seth Rollins, as I predicted, by the way, and he stopped Sheamus from cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Sheamus is still Mr. Money in the Bank. He's still got the briefcase because the bell didn't ring, so he can still cash it in tomorrow, or, whenever he's going to cash it in. Probably not tomorrow. Since Hell in a Cell is the next pay-per-view, maybe Hell in a Cell. So, what did I think about the show? Well, I'll go over first what I liked about the show. First off, New Day still the tag team champions. Now, I went ahead and said that I think the New Day is going to win, their match against the Dudleys, or, retain their titles. They didn't win the match. The Dudleys won, but, via disqualification. But as we got closer and closer to the Night of Champions pay-per-view, I was like, damn, I have a feeling that maybe the Dudley Boys might just win the tag team titles. But they didn't, and New Day are still champs. Now, I do think the finish for the match definitely sets up a rematch. There's absolutely gonna be a rematch at the next pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell. And I wonder what happens there. See, I think the Dudley Boys will win those tag team titles. That 10th, tag team title reign, they're gonna get it. But as I said in my prediction, I think it's gonna be a journey, and they shouldn't just get it right off the bat like that at Night of Champions, their first, championship match back. And since TLC is coming up in, 3 months or something like that, they might just win it there. Or actually, they might win it sooner, maybe at Survivor Series, and then maybe at TLC, New Day takes those tag team titles back. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the feud. Glad New Day is still tag team champions. Not that I don't like the Dudley Boys, because I do, but I just want to see New Day hold on to those titles, for a little while longer, because the last time they won the tag team titles, they had one successful title defense on pay-per-view, which was the Elimination Chamber, and then they lost it right after at Money in the Bank. So hopefully this time they hold on to it for a little bit longer. I don't think it's going to be too long of a reign, because I think the Dudley Boys will be taking those titles from the New Day soon. I'm thinking either Survivor Series or TLC, or one of the two. Also, Kevin Owens, the new Intercontinental Champion. Now, my prediction for this match was Ryback. I thought Ryback was going to win, because the guy, he's been the IC champ now for a couple of months, but it's been a terrible reign as IC champ. Now, he did get, a staph infection, so that explains it. But his only other title defense, he had two. One against the Big Show, which didn't end in Ryback's favor. He lost via disqualification, and Big Show was about to win. And then in that triple threat match against the Big Show and the Miz, Ryback pretty much stole the Big Show's win. He took out Big Show out of the ring after Big Show knocked out the Miz and stole the Big Show's pin. So he kind of, I felt like he needed a significant win, and that he was going to get a significant win before his reign is over. But looks like that's not the case. But hey, man, I'm glad Kevin Owens is the IC champ. I think we could see a pretty entertaining run with him as the champ. And actually something I thought of, I was like, if Kevin Owens wins the IC title, maybe we'll see another Kevin Owens versus John Cena match, like a final match or something like that, to unify both the US title and IC title. Let me know what you think of that, and if you would like to see that, if you'd like to see them, those two fight it out in a unification match for both championships. But I definitely don't think the Ryback and Kevin Owens feud is over. I mean, Ryback is the former champion, so he is entitled to a rematch, and he's probably going to get that rematch at Hell in a Cell. But now that Kevin Owens has won that championship from Ryback in his first attempt, I don't know if Ryback's going to get a win over Kevin Owens for the championship, because that would mean Ryback wins back the title, and then Kevin Owens would have to win it back. So I don't know how it's going to work, or if Ryback's going to get the IC title back from Kevin Owens. Whether he does or doesn't, hey, I'm happy with Kevin Owens as the champ. And actually, since Ryback's reign as IC champ started off pretty boring, with the feuds and all of that, I'm kind of glad that we've got Owens now as the new champ, and let's see how Owen does with the championship. I think we can have some pretty interesting feuds, and I think one feud a lot of people are thinking about is once Sami Zayn comes back from his injury, that we could see Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn for the IC championship, maybe at WrestleMania 32. We'll see. Also, Cena versus Rollins. Once again, they had a great match. To me, that was the match of the night once again. SummerSlam was the same thing. I thought Cena versus Rollins was the match of the night. Thought the same here. And also the big announcement that Undertaker and Brock are going to be fighting at Hell in a Cell. I'm happy about that because, one, we get Taker and Brock in a stipulation match. So weapons are legal, everything's legal. And I'm hoping Brock, finally gets his redemption here. Gets his redemption for what happened at SummerSlam and gets the win over Taker. And I'm also hoping that this is the end of the feud. Once they announce, that match for Hell in a Cell, I did see it said their final bout or final match or something like that, or final fight. I don't know. So I am hoping that is their final fight because I don't want to see Brock versus Taker at WrestleMania once again. Not saying the match would be bad, but I'm just saying we've already seen it at WrestleMania 30. Keep it at that, I don't want to see this feud dragged out all the way to WrestleMania. I want to see Taker face off against somebody else, somebody new at WrestleMania 32. Then when it comes to Rusev versus Dolph, I'm hoping this is the end of the feud. The feud's been going on way too long. And actually, three out of the 4 people in the feud got injured. 2 got injured for real, Rusev and Lana, and 1 got kayfabe injured, Dolph Ziggler. Now, with both of them ditching Summer Rae, I'm really hoping that this signifies the end of the feud. Now, I would have preferred Rusev take the win, because I feel like Rusev, ever since losing to John Cena, he's been losing way too much. Like, what happened? You lose, that's the thing I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The guy goes from unstoppable monster, nobody's able to beat him, he even beat John Cena, but then once John Cena beats him once, or actually, no, he beat him twice, right? Or 3 times? I don't know. But once John Cena finally beats him, he starts losing all these matches against all these other guys that he's been before. He lost to Cesaro, he lost to Roman Reigns, he's lost to Randy, he's lost to Dolph Ziggler. A bunch of, ever since John Cena beat him, everybody's been pinning him lately. Like, come on. I want to see Rusev go back to being that dominant heel or that dominant, monster superstar. So, once again, hoping this feud's over and just get him away from Dolph and Summer Rae and Lana. I don't want that. I want to see Rusev, go back to his old ways, and maybe we see Rusev in the championship title picture if they ever have like a fatal 4-way or something like that. It'd be pretty cool to see, because I do realize that right now the champ is a heel in Seth Rollins. So as long as Seth is a champ, I don't think we'll see Rusev challenge for the title. But if it's like a triple threat fatal 4-way, we can see Rusev in a championship match like that. And as far as their match goes and what I thought about it, I thought it was an okay match. There was a ton of kicks though. I felt like there were so many kicks in that match and super kicks. But the thing is, because I really haven't been enjoying this feud, it kind of tainted the match for me, where I was like, I wasn't interested because I was tired of the feud. I just don't want to see any more of it, and that kind of tainted my my thoughts, I guess, on the match or whatever. Now, when it comes to the Divas match, I'm just glad that Nikki Bella's no longer the champ. She was running out of opponents anyways to face off against, and it was obvious, it was clear that she was running out of opponents to face off against and defend the title against, because there were so many pay-per-views where she wasn't defending the title, so many pay-per-views where instead of a Divas Championship match, we had a tag team match, a non-title tag team. Well, of course it wouldn't be, a title match, although they could do it, they could have a tag team match where the championship is on the line. They've done it before. I'm not sure if they've done it for the Divas, I don't think they have, but they've done it for, the World Heavyweight Championship. Actually, not the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship at Backlash. But, yeah, glad she's no longer the champ. As far as the match goes, whatever. We'll see what happens now with Charlotte as the champ. It's finally somebody new as the champ. And with that, of course, we'll be seeing new matches in the Divas division or on the main roster. And I'm glad that they didn't wait until Hell in a Cell, because Hell in a Cell was the pay-per-view where Nikki Bella won the Divas Championship. So I'm glad they didn't wait until Hell in a Cell to have her lose the title. And then when it comes to the 6-man tag team match, Wyatt family versus Reigns, Ambrose, and Jericho. Now, you guys might not believe me on this, or you might. I actually thought that Jericho might be the partner before I went ahead and said that Mark Henry's going to be the partner. Initially, I was thinking Jericho, because Jericho is one to make appearances like that, you know. But then I was like, but why would they recruit Jericho? Wouldn't they want to recruit somebody, you know, that matches up size-wise or strength-wise with a guy like Braun Strowman? Because Reigns and Ambrose have been able to take down Braun Strowman. And when I saw that backstage Fallout video with Reigns and Ambrose where they were talking or making fun of who would be their partners, and then they mentioned the Great Khali, you know, he's a big dude. I was like, alright, so yeah, it might be, you know, and it would make sense for them to recruit a big guy to face off against Braun Strowman and team up with them. So then I was like, nah, it's probably going to be, you know, Mark Henry instead of like Jericho or, you know, some big dude. I know a lot of people were thinking it was going to be Daniel Bryan, but like I said, I thought the Wyatt family was going to win, and they did end up winning, and I don't think they'd have Daniel Bryan make his big return only to lose in the match. And like I said, I was like, whoever's going to be that third person is going to be the one to get pinned in that match. So no way was Daniel Bryan going to return and make his big return and, you know, get pinned in a match like this. And as far as Kane goes, because also a lot of people thought it was going to be Kane, I said Kane was going to go after Seth Rollins once he returned. That's exactly what he did. And on the same night, too. And as far as people saying Eric Rowan is still out injured, I believe. Or actually, I'm not sure, but that's what I heard, you know, like about a month back or a couple weeks back. So, yeah, I think I covered everything. Oh, the main event, man. Sting versus Seth Rollins. You know, I saw it coming that Seth Rollins was going to win. As far as the match goes, you know, well, it definitely wasn't as good as Cena versus Rollins, but Sting took some pretty, you know, rough bumps in this match. You know, once he fell off that announce table or fell through or went through that announce table, he bumped his head on the monitor. And also, man, he jumped from the top rope onto Seth Rollins, and it really looks like that turnbuckle powerbomb that he took was the reasoning or was what caused, you know, the injury. I'm not sure what the injury is exactly, but hopefully it's not, you know, anything too bad. And as far as Kane returning and, you know, costing Sheamus his cash-in, I mean, he sold Money in the Bank, he can still cash it in, but, you know, preventing Sheamus from cashing it in, I'll have to wait and see to, I guess, really give my thoughts on this, because whenever Kane's return, he looks strong for the first couple of weeks, or sometimes for the first couple of days only, and then he goes back to Jobber Kane, where all he does is just lose, and barely win. All he does is put people over, which isn't a bad thing, but when you're supposed to be this monster, you can't be losing all the damn time, or else people won't take you seriously. You're not a monster anymore, you know. Kane was just losing to everybody, especially as Corporate Kane, and even before then, you knew whenever he'd be in a big feud or in a big main event, he was losing. Maybe this time it's going to be different, but it's probably not going to be different, which, you know, like, I used to be a big Kane fan, but then I was like, man, this guy just loses all the damn time. I mean, I realized it pretty damn quick, but I'd still root for the guy. I remember when I was watching even when I was watching in 2005, the Gold Rush tournament, you guys remember that? For, I think at that time, Batista was a world champion. It was his first reign as champion. I was rooting for Kane to win that, and yeah, of course he lost it. I mean, he made it to the finals, but we'll see if it's any different here. I mean, it looks like after what happened, I'm thinking Hell in a Cell. It's gonna be, especially because we've got Taker versus Brock inside Hell in a Cell at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I think for sure it's gonna be Kane versus Seth Rollins for the title inside Hell in a Cell. So that way they can have both the Brothers of Destruction in Hell in a Cell matches. As far as Cena goes, since he just took the US title from Seth Rollins, maybe Rollins will be pulling double duty at Hell in a Cell 2, or we might just see Seth Rollins go ahead and compete against John Cena or invoke his rematch clause on Raw instead. I think that's more likely than him pulling double duty once again at Hell in a Cell. But who knows, that might happen too. The other possibility I could see is maybe they have, and I got this idea from somebody else who suggested this for, I think Night of Champions, or was it SummerSlam? I'm not sure. But a triple threat match where you have Seth Rollins versus John Cena versus Kane, where like both titles are on the line. No, but in this case, nah, you know what? Forget about it. I don't think that's going to happen. It's probably just going to be Kane versus Seth Rollins one-on-one. So anyways, I think I've talked enough. As far as a rating for the show, I'd give it like a 6.5 on 10. I think that's a fair rating when it comes to how I feel about the overall show. And as far as the match of the night, for me, it was definitely Seth versus John Cena. And by the way, who didn't see it coming that whatever would happen in the tag team title match, at the end of the day, New Day, or one of the members of the New Day, was going to go through a table. I think most of us saw it coming. But yeah, that was cool too. So let me know which match you enjoyed the most, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can click the like button if you'd like. And with that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.